Veronica Mars is back. I'm Sadie Guinness, Dick Casablancas' future starter wife, and here's everything you need to know before watching the Veronica Mars revival. Veronica Mars is returning for an 8-episode Hulu miniseries that is dropping all at once on Friday, July 26th. This is the second time Veronica Mars has been revived following the 2014 fan-funded movie. Pretty much all the main players are returning for the miniseries, including Veronica, Keith, Logan, Wallace, and Weevil. Unfortunately, Mac, the cue to Veronica's bond, isn't returning, but it's not for lack of trying.
We would have loved to have had Tina Majorino, and she had other commitments. I mean, that was a shame. We adore her and would have loved to have had her in it.
But the cameos that do happen will be
are fun.
A wonderful
they're fun
thing to see.
Rob and Rico really aren't joking either. There are a ton of amazing familiar faces returning for supporting roles, but there is one that was clearly the cast favorite, and mine.
I gotta say Ryan Hansen, of course.
Right. Well, Ryan Hansen's not a small role in the show, but I'm really pleased to see him, and we have some very fun stuff. A little spoiler: he's the king of spring break, which is like this party spot in Neptune, and you'll see various goings on with him. Yeah, and we have Darren Norris, who's Cliff McCormick, and we have Vinnie Van Lowe, played by Ken Marino. And they're both coming back, and they're a ton of fun and, silly and colorful. They're great.
Dick's dad, aka Big Dick, will also play a major role this season and be key to the show's central mystery. And Leo, who now works for the FBI, will be back in a recurring role and remind every single one of us, even the biggest love shippers, that Leo and Veronica still have incredible chemistry. The revival will also feature cameos from Liam Fitzpatrick, Max, Parker, Tinfoil, and Mercer, so the very small but passionate Season 3 stans are gonna be thrilled by this. There are plenty of other incredible returns, but we're not going to spoil any of those for you here. But before you get your hopes up, no, Piz is not one of them. Veronica's second favorite boyfriend does get name-checked a few times, Stosh Piznarski. Stosh Piznarski, but he never appears on screen. Seeing as it's been 5 years since the movie and 12 since the original series ended, it's completely understandable if you don't remember every single little detail about where the characters left off, so let me refresh you. After the events of Season 3, Veronica transferred from Hearst to Stanford and then got her law degree from Columbia. She was living in New York, dating Piz, and planning on accepting a job at a prestigious New York law firm. But after 9 years of not speaking with Logan, Veronica rushed back to Neptune the second Logan called and asked her to investigate the murder of his pop star girlfriend and prove his innocence in it. While investigating the case, Veronica fell back in love with being a PI and with Logan, who had since joined the Navy. When Piz returned to New York, Veronica decided not to follow and to stay in Neptune to work with her dad and get back with Logan. Mac, who had been working at Kane Software, also decided to quit her cushy job and work with Mars Investigations full-time. Meanwhile, Weevil was a reformed family man with a wife and daughter until he pulled over to help Celeste Kane when she was being harassed by bikers. But because she is a racist piece of can I say that? But because she is a racist piece of she wound up shooting Weevil, and then the cops planted a gun on him so that she could claim self-defense. Keith agreed to work with Weevil and prove his innocence, as well as do whatever it takes to fight police corruption in Neptune. But when Keith had a secret meeting with Deputy Sachs about that very topic, a car purposely hit them, killing Deputy Sachs and almost killing Keith. Despite everything Keith had done on Weevil's behalf, Weevil still wound up rejoining the PCHers at the end of the movie. That's everything that happened in the film, but what a lot of fans don't know is that Rob Thomas also published 2 books that help fill in the gap between the movie and the miniseries. The big things you need to know from the $1,000 Tan Line and Mr. Kiss and Tell are: Neptune has a new police chief, Marcia Langdon, who successfully ran against Dan Lamb and won. Marcia was friendly with Keith when she was in high school and he had just started at the sheriff's office, but she has no patience for people who bend the law, even calling the cops on her own brother when she was a teen. She's tough. Also, since Neptune is finally incorporated, that's why Marcia is the police chief and not a sheriff. Which, that wasn't in the books? Rob Thomas just tweeted it. Veronica and Weevil also had a huge falling out. Although Weevil wasn't able to use all the evidence Keith collected in his criminal trial, he wound up being acquitted of all charges. But Keith then came up with the idea for Weevil to sue the sheriff's department so he could use all the evidence of Lamb's corruption in court and get Weevil some money to get back on his feet. However, Weevil wound up settling with the sheriff's department out of court, proving himself to be an unforgivable sellout in Veronica's eyes.
Veronica and Weevil are at odds because of what happened in those novels. So as you come into these 8 episodes, Veronica and Weevil are not happy with each other and have not spoken in quite some time.
Veronica and Logan also adopted an adorable puppy named Pony, who will definitely be in the revival. And Veronica gets a gun, which she puts to use in the miniseries. Now that we all remember where we left off, here's what fans can expect of what's next.
She is still working as a PI. She and Keith co-own Mars Investigations. They're working on a variety of cases until the big case from our miniseries sort of takes off.
There's a series of bombings that sort of are plaguing our small town, and Veronica becomes involved and starts solving the case.
Because this is Neptune, the bombings are only going to further fuel the class war between the city's wealthy elite and the working class, since the bombings take place over spring break, and the O-Niners like Big Dick hate everything about spring break and don't give a about the working class who make their money off the boardwalk because they would rather turn it into luxury condos. This season will also find Veronica at a major crossroads in her life, with her contemplating what she really wants.
I was interested in telling the sort of story that is usually reserved for men for Veronica. You see a lot of stories about men in their 30s, trying to decide whether commitment, marriage, kids, mortgage is the path that they want to take, or if they want their freedom. And I wanted to tell that story with Veronica.
In a fun twist, Logan will now actually be the stable, emotionally intelligent one who will be there to help Veronica through all of her struggles.
I'm sort of kind of trying to get Veronica to, she kind of finds herself in a place in her life where she might not be, moving forward or taking the next move, and sort of like, gently, otherwise you'll ruffle her feathers, but sort of like trying to figure that out, and then, the drama with that as well.
That's how tipped on its head things are now. And Logan has a much clearer vision of what he wants out of life than Veronica does, and that's a big element in the 8-episode story we're telling.
Logan won't be the only character who's greatly matured since we last saw him in the movie. Wallace is going to be in a completely different place in his life, and he'll even be friends with Logan now.
But the great thing with us is we're playing games and at home and drinking wine together, and we're boys. We're buddies now. I've got his back in the way that I've had Veronica's over the years. So being able to play that chemistry and our real life chemistry on screen has been new. It's been fun, right?
Yeah, I think it starts off in a place where we can be friends, because on the show I would never particularly treat Veronica as well as maybe people would like that to happen. So that's the grown-up nature, which requires scenes with characters that I would never really participate in beforehand. So it's good to be the good guy.
While it's exciting to think about Logan actually having friendly interactions with the other main characters, the miniseries will also introduce a lot of new characters who will play a pivotal role in the revival. Patton Oswalt will star as Penn Eppner, a pizza delivery guy whose two obsessions are true crime and attention. Kirby Howell-Baptiste will play Nicole, the owner of a bar that a lot of the bombing victims pass through and who also develops a close friendship with Veronica. Clifton Collins Jr. will play Alonzo, a hitman for a Mexican cartel who arrives in Neptune on a deadly mission. Isabella Vidovich will play Maddie Ross, a young girl who loses the person most important to her in one of the bombings and who decides to get justice no matter the cost. She's like a little Veronica. And J.K. Simmons will play Clyde Prickett, an ex-con who befriended Big Dick while he was in jail for securities fraud. Clyde now works as Big Dick's fixer, but he also develops the cutest bromance with Keith, which is complicated slightly by the fact that Keith suspects Big Dick and Clyde of being involved in the bombings.
Working with JK was amazing. Thank you for that opportunity. Patton was exceptional, but JK and I developed a wonderful relationship on screen. That to see another old guy with Keith, it was just such a relief to not be surrounded by youngins.
Given its new home on Hulu, the Veronica Mars revival is going to be way more adult. Even though they can't drop the F-bomb like Rob Thomas had hoped, there are some super steamy sex scenes and some seriously dirty jokes I cannot believe made it on air, including one scene in which Logan and Veronica playfully negotiate a handjob just to freak out some innocent bystanders.
Yeah, that came out of nowhere, didn't it? I was reading the script, I was like, whoa. That scene was cut down too. It was worse before I saw her. Amazing.
The words have changed slightly. It's a little more dark in some ways, but I think the relationships and the tone is still the same. So while it might introduce new fans to who like that, I think everybody who had the PG-13 CW version are going to appreciate both.
Veronica Mars fans have waited so long for the series to come back that we have had plenty of time to mull over what questions we need answered. Here are the biggest ones we hope this season will address. Will Logan and Veronica stay together? This is really the only question that matters to me, let's be real. But this season is really going to explore the hardships of Logan and Veronica's relationship, with Veronica even saying in the trailer that she is the destructive gene in their relationship. But if Logan and Veronica can't make it work after all of this time, I am done with love, as in Logan and Veronica and real love, because nothing will ever work. There is no such thing as true love if love cannot make it work. Will Keith retire? The book spent a lot of time detailing Keith's recovery from the car accident that nearly took his life in the movie. And the miniseries will continue to explore how the accident is still affecting Keith, who now uses a cane to walk.
We were making an important point with this cane, and part of the thing that Keith is struggling with is it time to retire? Is it time to let Veronica take over the business? Is it time to shut down Mars investigations are my best days behind me.
And the just the element of that they're still poor. They
Right.
can't afford good health care.
You see him get some really shabby medical attention, and then through circumstances, he gets some concierge care, and the concierge care is better. That's the important point we're making
Much better.
in these 8 episodes. It is better to have money in America than to not.
And finally, will there be more Veronica Mars? This is already the second time the show has been brought back, and Rob Thomas has said he's open to continuing the story further. And based on the feedback from the cast, it sounds like pretty much everyone would be down to return as well.
It's been 15 years. You know, we're friends, so internally, it's great. It's just great to do it. As far as the fans,
I mean, I really got to get your number.
yeah,
'Cause
right?
Yeah.
we were supposed
I'm
to
not going to see you
have
for
the
a little
kids
bit.
hang
Till the
out.
next one. Yeah.
Empty promises. He's got my number. And it resonates with the fans, right? I mean, the fact that for 15 years they've connected to it, and not only still want to connect to it, but support us so much. It just makes it special. It's a special connection with the Marshmallows.
Let us know what your hopes are for the Veronica Mars revival, and if you think there should be another season in the comments below.